What is the current exchange rate for respect? For Julian Vance, a young man who spent more time staring at candlestick charts than looking at the people he hurt, the answer was zero. He believed that net worth was the only metric of a human being's value. He walked into Providence Municipal Court wearing a tailored suit that cost more than most people's cars, holding a phone that he refused to put down, and carrying an attitude that sucked the air out of the room. He thought this was just another transaction. He thought he could swipe a card, throw some digital coins at the problem, and walk out the door to his waiting sports car. But Julian Vance made a critical error. He forgot that he wasn't standing in front of a computer screen. He was standing in front of Judge Frank Caprio. And what happened over the next 20 minutes didn't just go viral, it became a lesson in humility that the financial world is still talking about. Because the twist waiting for Julian wasn't a market crash. It was a ghost from his past walking through the double doors, holding the one truth Julian couldn't encrypt. Before we witness this incredible takedown, the analytics show that less than 8% of you watching right now are actually subscribed to the channel. If you believe that justice shouldn't have a price tag and that respect is something you earn, not something you buy, please hit that subscribe button right now. It helps us bring these stories to light. Now let's go to Providence, Rhode Island. It's a rainy Tuesday, the kind of weather that makes everyone a little on edge. But inside the courtroom, the temperature is about to rise. Scene 1, the entrance. The heavy wooden doors of the courtroom swing open, not with a respectful creak but with a forceful shove. Julian Vance enters. He doesn't look at the bailiff. He doesn't look at the clerk. He doesn't even look at the bench. His eyes are glued to the latest iPhone, his thumb furiously scrolling through a trading app. He's wearing a slate gray suit, Italian cut, no tie, top button undone to show off a gold chain. He walks down the center aisle as if it's a runway. Most defendants in this court look nervous. They clutch their citations, they wring their hands. Julian looks bored. He looks like a man waiting for a table at a restaurant that isn't quite up to his standards. Inspector Quinn, the chief bailiff, steps forward. "Sir, please take a seat in the front row and put the phone away." Julian doesn't stop scrolling. He barely acknowledges Quinn's existence. "Yeah, in a second, chief. I'm in the middle of a liquidity event. You wouldn't understand." A ripple of murmurs goes through the courtroom. You don't talk to Inspector Quinn like that. You certainly don't ignore the rules of decorum in this chamber. Judge Frank Caprio, who has been reviewing a file on his desk, looks up over his reading glasses. He sees the young man, the phone, the dismissive wave of the hand. Caprio doesn't speak immediately. He waits. He watches. He's seen this type before, the invincible youth, but there is something particularly sharp, something brittle about this young man's arrogance. "Officer," Caprio says, his voice calm but projecting to the back of the room. "Is there a reason the defendant is conducting business in my courtroom?" Quinn stiffens. He says he's busy, Your Honor. Julian finally looks up, annoyed. "I'm closing a position, Judge. If I don't execute this in the next 30 seconds, I lose $4,000. So if you can just hang on." The silence that follows is absolute. The court reporter stops typing. The other defendants in the back row freeze. Judge Caprio sets his pen down. He interlaces his fingers. $4,000, he repeats softly. "Well, Mr. Vance, I suggest you finish your transaction outside, because if that phone is visible in 5 seconds, the cost will be significantly higher than $4,000. It will be your freedom for the rest of the afternoon." Julian rolls his eyes, a gesture so theatrical it's almost comical, and shoves the phone into his pocket. He saunters to the microphone, leaning on the podium as if he's ordering a drink. "All right," Julian says, sighing. "Let's get this over with. How much do you need?" Scene 2, the CHARGS. Judge Caprio ignores the question. He picks up the docket, scanning the police report. His expression tightens. "This isn't a parking ticket. You are Julian Vance." "That's the brand, yeah." "The charges," Caprio reads, his voice dropping an octave, becoming more serious. "Reckless driving. Speeding 95 miles per hour in a 35-mile-per-hour residential zone. Failure to stop for a school bus with its stop arm extended. And fleeing the scene of a property damage accident." The judge looks up. "You were driving a 2024 lime green McLaren." "Artura," Julian corrects him instantly. "It's a McLaren Artura, not just a McLaren. And for the record, the school bus was stopped for way too long. I have places to be. Time is money, literally, in my line of work." Judge Caprio leans back. The charm that usually graces his bench is vanishing. "Mr. Vance, do you understand that a child could have been stepping off that bus?" Julian shrugs, adjusting his expensive watch. "But they weren't. Look, nobody got hurt. The fence I grazed, I already told the cop I'd Venmo the owner. I don't see why I had to come down here. My lawyer said he could handle this, but apparently you require a personal audience." "A personal audience," Caprio repeats. "You think this is a show? You think this is for my entertainment?" I think it's a system designed to extract revenue from high-value individuals to pay for. Well, this, Julian gestures vaguely at the courtroom, at the flag, at the public servants. I'm offering to pay. I can write a check right now for the maximum fine plus double. Let's call it a donation to the city. Can I go now? The audacity is breathtaking. In the gallery, a woman shakes her head. She's holding a tissue. We don't know who she is yet, but her eyes are red. Judge Caprio looks at the police report again. Officer, play the body cam footage from the traffic stop. I want to see this interaction. Scene 3. The evidence. The large monitor in the courtroom flickers to life. The audio crackles. Video. The perspective is from a police motorcycle. The siren is blaring. Ahead, a neon green blur weaves through traffic, cutting off a minivan swerving into the bike lane. The car finally screeches to a halt near a high-end condo complex. The officer approaches the window. The window slides down. Julian is in the driver's seat, phone in hand. Officer on video, step out of the vehicle, sir. Julian on video, do you know how much this paint costs? Do not touch the door. Do not touch the glass. I pay your salary, pal. I pay more in taxes in a month than you'll make in a lifetime. Actually, I don't pay taxes. I have structured assets, but you get the point. Officer, sir, you nearly hit a child back there. Julian, nearly keyword. In the market, nearly implies a miss. A miss is a win. Write the ticket. I have a Zoom call in 5 minutes with Dubai. The courtroom watches in stunned silence. The sheer entitlement oozing from the screen is palpable. Julian in the courtroom stands there watching himself on screen, and he's smiling. He's smirking at his own performance. He thinks he looks powerful. He thinks he looks like a rebel. The video ends. Caprio turns to Julian. You find that amusing? I find it efficient, Julian says. I was honest. I have resources. I have influence. Why should I pretend to be scared of a traffic cop? It's a transaction. I broke a rule. I pay the price. That's capitalism, Judge. Judge Caprio takes a deep breath. He takes off his glasses and rubs the bridge of his nose. This is the moment where he usually offers a life lesson. But he knows, looking at Julian, that words won't penetrate that suit. You think money is the only thing that matters, Caprio says softly. You think because you made some money in. What is it, crypto? Defy protocols and leveraged yield farming, Julian says, throwing out buzzwords. I'm a disruptor. You are a disruptor, Caprio agrees. You disrupted the peace. You disrupted the safety of a school zone. You disrupted the life of the person whose fence you destroyed. Speaking of which, Caprio motions to the clerk. Is the victim present, the owner of the property? The woman in the gallery, the one with the tissue, stands up slowly. She is older, perhaps in her 60s. She wears a faded coat. She looks tired. State your name for the record, please, Caprio says gently. Mrs. Alina Higgins, Your Honor. Julian glances back at her, dismissive. Look, Mrs. Higgins, I said I'd pay for the fence. Send me the invoice. I'll add 10% for the hassle. Mr. Vance, be quiet, Caprio snaps. The gavel hits the wood, a sharp cracking sound that finally makes Julian jump. Mrs. Higgins, tell us what happened. Mrs. Higgins grips the railing in front of her. It wasn't just a fence, Your Honor. I run a small community garden for the neighborhood kids. It's right next to the school bus stop. I was out there watering the hydrangeas. If I had been 3 feet to the left. Her voice trembles. He didn't even slow down. He hit the planter boxes, smashed the fence, and the debris flew everywhere. One of the pieces of wood hit me in the leg. She pulls up her pant leg slightly to reveal a dark purple bruise and a bandage. The courtroom gasps. This wasn't just property damage. This was assault with a deadly weapon disguised as a traffic violation. Julian looks at the bruise. For a split second, his face twitches, but he recovers. I didn't know anyone got hit. The cop didn't say that. Okay, so medical bills too. Fine, name the price. Judge Caprio's face turns into stone. Name the price. You think you can buy her pain. Everything has a price, Judge. That's how the world works. She wants a new fence, done. She wants a vacation, done. I just made $5 grand while standing here. I can fix this. Scene 4, the interrogation. You are 24 years old, Caprio says, looking at the file. Where does this money come from? Do you work? I trade, Julian says. I provide liquidity to the markets. I'm a self-made man. I started with nothing 3 years ago and now I run the game. My father, he didn't understand. He was a worker, a clock puncher. I told him he was a slave to the system. I broke free. Your father, Caprio asks, is he here? No, Julian laughs. We don't talk. He lives in the past. He thinks hard work is sweating and breaking your back. I told him, Dad, I can buy your whole factory with one click. He didn't like that, so I left. I don't need him. I don't need anyone. What? You don't need anyone, Caprio repeats. And yet you are here, needing the protection of the laws you despise. You need the police to protect your expensive car from theft. You need the roads paved by the taxes you brag about avoiding. You are a parasite, Mr. Vance. You feed on a society you refuse to contribute to. Julian's face reddens. I'm a visionary. You are a boy playing with fire, Caprio counters. And today you are going to get burned. Judge Caprio looks at the bailiff. I am not going to fine you, Mr. Vance. Julian blinks. What, you're letting me go? No, I said I am not going to fine you, because a fine is just a fee for you, it's permission. If I fine you $500 or $5,000, you will laugh and drive away. Justice is not a transaction, justice is correction. So what are you gonna do? Suspend my license. I have drivers, I have Uber Black. I am holding you in contempt of court for your behavior today, Caprio says calmly. And I am ordering a full review of your assets regarding the restitution for Mrs. Higgins. But before I pass sentence. The judge looks toward the back of the courtroom. The heavy doors open again. We have a witness who arrived late, the clerk announces. He claims to have relevant information regarding the vehicle in question. Julian turns around annoyed. Who? My mechanic. Walking down the aisle is a man in a blue work uniform. His name tag says Vance Auto Repair. He has grease under his fingernails. He is holding a hat in his hands. He looks weary, worn down by years of labor. Julian's face goes pale. The smirk vanishes instantly. It's his father. Scene 5, the twist. Mr. Robert Vance, Judge Caprio says, thank you for coming. I understand you are the defendant's father. I am, Your Honor, Robert says. His voice is gravelly, thick with emotion. He refuses to look at his son. Dad, Julian whispers. What are you doing here? Go home, I got this. Quiet, Caprio commands. Mr. Vance, you wanted to address the court regarding the McLaren Archera involved in this incident. Yes, Your Honor, Robert says. He takes a deep breath. My son, Julian, he tells people he's a crypto genius. He tells people he's self-made. Robert turns to look at Julian. The pain in his eyes is heartbreaking, but the truth is, Your Honor, that car isn't his. Julian steps forward. Dad, shut up. Mr. Vance, one more word and you will be in handcuffs, Caprio warns Julian. Go on, Mr. Robert. He didn't buy that car with crypto profits, Judge, Robert continues. He leased it under my name. He forged my signature on the co-signing documents 3 months ago. I didn't know until the insurance company called me about the accident. The courtroom falls deathly silent. The crypto king isn't a king, he's a fraud. And the money, Caprio asks, he claims to make thousands a minute. Robert shakes his head, tears forming in his eyes. He's broke, Your Honor. He lost it all 6 months ago when the market crashed. He's been living in my basement, pretending he's in a penthouse. He's been stealing from his grandmother's retirement account to pay for the rental fees on these fancy cars just to keep up appearances on Instagram. He's not a millionaire. He's a thief and he's my son, and I failed him. Robert begins to weep. I raised him to be better, but he got lost in that screen. He started thinking he was better than everyone. Julian is trembling now. The facade has cracked. The crypto god is just a frightened boy in a suit he probably hasn't paid for. Is this true? Caprio asks Julian. His voice isn't angry anymore, it's filled with pity. Julian looks at his father, then at the judge, then at the floor. I was gonna make it back, he stammers. One big trade, I was gonna pay grandma back. I just needed the car to impress the investors. So you almost killed a child and you injured this woman to impress investors with money you stole from your own family? Caprio asks. Julian says nothing. He slumps against the podium. The arrogance is gone, replaced by the crushing weight of reality. Scene 6, the verdict. Judge Caprio looks at Mrs. Higgins, the victim. Mrs. Higgins, did you hear that? I did, Your Honor, she says softly. This young man has nothing, Caprio says. He cannot write you a check, he cannot buy you a new fence. He is bankrupt in finance and it seems bankrupt in character. Caprio turns back to Julian. You stood there and mocked this court, you mocked the police, you mocked a woman you hurt, you acted like a king, but a king protects his people. A king takes responsibility. You are just a child playing dress-up. I'm sorry, Julian whispers, it's the first time he said it. Sorry isn't a currency I accept right now, Caprio says, here is my ruling. The judge leans forward. The camera zooms in on his face. First, the charges of reckless driving and fleeing the scene. I am sentencing you to the maximum penalty allowed. But since you cannot pay, you will work. Work, Julian asks weakly. You will spend the next 6 months performing community service, Caprio declares. And not just picking up trash, I am assigning you to Mrs. Higgins. Mrs. Higgins looks surprised. You will rebuild her fence, Caprio orders. With your own hands, you will dig the post holes, you will paint the wood, you will fix the planter boxes. And you will do it under the supervision of your father who actually knows what hard work looks like. Your Honor, Julian starts. I'm not finished. Regarding the fraud against your father and grandmother. That is a matter for the criminal courts, and I am forwarding the transcript of this hearing to the district attorney. But for today, for this courtroom, you are going to learn what it means to earn your way back. Caprio looks at Robert Vance. Sir, I admire your courage. It takes a strong father to expose his son to save him. You didn't fail him. You just saved him from